dollars per school. Now, we recognize that the smaller schools are not likely to get that kind of money, but still it's an opportunity to do some real change in terms of student achievement. The funding is for 3 years, and here are a list of some of the allowable items. There are many more than this. We just wanted to give you kind of an idea of what can be done with the money. We can pay a turnaround principal a stipend. We can buy approved intervention materials, and again, the state would approve those materials to be purchased. We can buy books, we can do research-based software. Teacher stipends are part of that package. We can create summer transition programs for those students, and there are many, many more things that we didn't put on our list. So there were 4 models offered. There's the turnaround model, which means replacing the principal and the staff. The restart model, which simply means, thank you. We're not going to read all of this to you because we know you have those in your packet, but this is an overview of all the models, okay? Restart model, in which the charter takes over a school. We could choose to close the school down, and we could utilize funds from the grant to help us do that and move kids to other places. I think I said that one, thank you. And then the transformation model is the model that high school leadership is recommending for Project More, along with the declaration of new school. So our process. Now this list, I want everybody to understand that this list of people up here, all the alternative education people, Hohenstein, Agave, and on the next slide, our middle school alternative committee and central support. They had nothing to do with high school leadership's decision to declare this a new school. But because we have to get a new principal for Project More, and the grant requires us to hire a turnaround principal, that principal can only be the principal of Project More, which means all the other alternative satellite sites that are overseen by the leadership of Project More or the leadership of alternative ed now have to have a new home. And so we are in the process. This can in. Right. I'm not, when I say new home, I apologize. When I say new home, it doesn't mean we're going to necessarily put them anywhere else. But they need leadership.
The mothership just changes.
The mothership, yeah.
They will stay in place where they are for now.
Well, we've got some proposals on the table, but there's no plans yet. But this committee has been helping us look at that because Project More has to have a full-time turnaround principal as part of this grant, and that turnaround principal cannot be involved with the other schools. And that is, again, verified by the ADE. They will not approve the budget if we don't make sure that that principal is fully engaged in turning around Project More. Therefore, we have to find some ways to work with the other sites and reestablish leadership at those sites.
Right, and I want to just mention.
Sure.
I want to mention that this committee really is working on the design of the school for Project More and getting input. This is not necessarily the one that, decides if it's a new school status, et cetera. It's just working on the bell schedule. What are we going to offer in the school so that we can make it better? How are we going to make it more effective? And it's representative of a lot of other small school environments, such as Hohenstein, such as Project More, and Agave being part of a small school. So what they have in common is that they're all small environments. And so we want to be able to have some alignment between all these 3 entities and try to condense administration and condense, have some more efficiency among these three schools.
Ms. Burns.
Mr. Cuevas.
Dr. Esquerdo, if you can clarify, so the future leader, regardless of what option we go to, my understanding is that all 4 options state that we have to get a new principal.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So they have to only be over Project More and not the other alternative, all the other alt-ed schools?
Right. Right now, Project More is a standalone school. Hohenstein is a standalone school. Agave is its own standalone school. So right now, under this grant, it is required to have a full-time principal at Project More and required to have a full-time principal at Hohenstein.
Right. And if I just may follow up, recently I've been getting concerns from other alt-ed non-Project More teachers about budget transparency and the allocation of staff and all of that. And so if we do head down that path where there is potentially a new principal at that site, I think we should open up the budget site-based decision-making and looking at whether or not it is spread equitably in terms of budget allocation for all the other schools. As you all know, I put in a request for information for those budgets because I am concerned that a good portion of it may not be going to certain schools, and I wouldn't even stop short of saying that there probably should be an audit to make sure that the funds that are going to other alt-ed schools are going to those schools.
Because Project More is in a very unique position, and Mr. McKay, at the beginning of the year when I first came here, he described it as a university model, where the main campus was Project More, and the little hands of the main campus was Southwest, and Drake, and TAP, and all those others, 12 others. So this Project More housed counselors, dropout prevention specialists, librarian, etc., to be able to support the other little schools. Maybe 25 here kids and 25 there, etc. So now with this transforming and needing a new principal, because that is part of the model that we are, in any of the 4 models that we choose, then that leaves the other little schools in a position where, okay, how are we going to go about to continue to support them? And because now Project More has got to be a standalone school. It can no longer have a design of one principal, one assistant principal for 13 little sites, or 13 sites at the district level.
Ms. Graham?
Yeah, so I'm concerned I have a few concerns, but the concern that I'm going to talk about right now is the way we currently have the system set up. We have the mothership, and that supervision is coming from there. So what are the satellite sites going to look like? What's their administration? What's going to be their leadership? I mean, what is that going to look like?
That's where this committee comes in, as far as how are we going to realign these services to continue to deliver these other small schools, their services that they're continuing to do, that they have been doing. So it's hard to make that decision by ourselves. So this is this committee of 35 that represents all levels here, Howensteen as well, because it's a small environment, Agave and Project More. We're coming together and finding out, how do we go about doing that? How do we continue to support? I mean, how do we begin to support as the Southwest Middle, for example, is a standalone school? And by the way, they're not programs; they're all schools with the number, so they all have their full, they get diplomas through their schools. Project More does not give them their diploma. Southwest gets their own diploma. TAP gets their own diploma. So everyone is a school money program. So then if we were to change or want to close or move or etc., or maybe not move but close any of them, it's going to have to go through the school closure just like any other school would, because it is considered to be a school.
I have a couple concerns about this list that I'm looking at. First of all, it says Middle School Alternative Committee Central Support. I don't understand.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you, President Burns.
First thing.
The Middle School Alternative has been working since November to look at middle school alternative plans. They've done a lot of research, and we consider them a good group to help support us in the work with the other members of the team. So we also, and if you look at the central office support, those are people that can help you look at budget. They can help you look at magnet status and open enrollment.
And I understand that. I've
Okay.
looked through the list, and I understand all the people on there. I just don't understand how they can be making these sort of, with,
Can we back up a slide, please?
okay,
Let me, if you'll, well, sorry.
that one.
Notice, well, back one more.
One back.
Dr. Macklin, please. There you go. These are members of all the alt-ed sites, all of those
Right.
members, and you can see there's an abundance of them in this list. There are people from Hallenstein and
And
people
they
from
work
Agave.
with the other committee?
The whole committee met, yes,
So like 70 people?
35. Total is
Well,
35. I'm sorry.
There's 35 on one list, it says.
Now there's a total of 35. My
Okay,
apologies.
but both
We-
pages say 35.
We should have changed the title. They're actually 36. I did a mistake in letting my boss out.
I didn't want to get that far into it because I want to get to the public hearing before we go into details. But I know the law and our policy states that school councils, which this kind of is substituting for at the high school level, will have high school students. I haven't seen any students on there. It's the
No,
law
not
and
at
it's our
this point.
policy. Okay.
But please understand, this is thank you for the suggestion, but this is the initial process of bringing ideas